Welcome into Northern Astrology. My name is Gracey, the one and only, the witch, the astrologer, the mystic, whatever you want to call me. I am calling myself the Crow Whisperer this week. I have been 7 days in a row with my crows. And that's kind of exciting given that it is one of the spookiest weeks in the year, with Samhain or the Halloween festivals that you guys may have been celebrating so far. Definitely a lot of things that we can go into with the altar I have behind me, the astrology weather that is currently happening all around us. There's plenty to go with, I guess, conversation wise today, but I definitely wanted to start out by saying thanks to each and every one of you for coming along this ride for my sports astrology weekly show. It's a live show, so it's not exactly something that I can just be like, okay, this is all perfectly done. This is all perfect inflection. I have no mess ups. I have no hiccups. I'm just going and it's all edited perfectly. Like, that would be a great, I think I was just talking to my editor, Mariah, and of course, she's also a good friend, talking about how nice it would be to have video editors that can help with our content. So, if you guys are video editors or happen to know someone that also has some sort of spiritual background or astrology background, would be incredible. A mystic background, any sort of out of the box thinking as far as editing goes, because we have a lot to say in these moments, right? We have so many things to talk about as far as the unprecedented weather astrology wise of this year. I happened to co-write a book about this, the astrology of 2025. I'm just going to hold it right here because I know on YouTube Shorts, when I go back and try to pull this for YouTube Shorts, I can't get anything out of frame. It has to be right here. So, yes, Astrology of 2025, co-written with Alessia, Amanda, and Jamal. They are all found on social media, and you can find more about their practices in the book itself. And it's just like this year is about revolutionary changes, and it's from the way that we approach life and our skeletal system, with Saturn shifting between Pisces and Aries back and forth this year, and then going into Aries again, I believe February 2026. So there's just a lot happening, right? So when everything kind of combines in one year to be like, holy shit, this is going to be a megapolis year. That's a fun joke for people that are cinephiles. It's like you're going to pour a ton of money in and get little to nothing in return. That's kind of what this year has been for a lot of people. And don't be discouraged. The rewards are coming. People think that because they don't have something by December 31st that they're not in rhythm with life or they're not achieving along the right timelines. And it's like, time isn't real. I stress this in every single area that I can possibly influence. Time isn't real. We have proof now that time folds in on itself from a quantum perspective, and it's not linear. It's not like, oh, the 1700s happened 300 years ago. They're still happening. They're happening now. And it's such a wild concept to wrap our heads around, because I think like a lot of the times when you want to talk about astrology, it's like we have to talk about the timing of the planets and how everything relates to each other, because that's our job as astrologers. We are historians. We are, people that watch cultural changes and people that pay attention to the news, whether we want to or not. And that is something that we can use to track historical events or to know what's coming. And while astrology does not predict everything, and it does not predict the next time you're going to get broken up with or when you're going to meet the love of your life, it can give you indications to look towards certain places. And if you happen to have an 11th house north node, chances are that you are going to be doing something that is a network of people, whether it's IT or whether it's a philanthropic organization that you work with, and it connects you to these people, or it connects you to the community, or it helps you form community. There's something about knowing your placements and really understanding your own chart before you dive into the magic of others. I happened to rectify my birth time, which means figure it out on my own, for those who don't know what I'm talking about. And I was correct on the minute I was born. I knew I was born on a 15. I don't know why I knew that, but I knew that I was born exactly on a correct quarter of a time. So I thought it was 11:15, then I find out it's 12:15 and I'm like, perfect. Right at noon, I read that the sun is at the height of its power when it doesn't have a shadow, and that is at noon. So quarter after noon, there I am, born right there, and it was just such a beautiful moment to find that birth time in June of 2024. Yes, I've only been living on this planet knowing my proper birth time for a year and a few months. So if you don't know yours or you're still in the process of finding it, I rectify people's birth times that I know really well. I had the 12-hour opposite for my dad. I thought he was born at 5:11 p.m. Yes, I got the minute right. 5:11 p.m., but it turns out it was 5:11, or I thought he was born at 5:11 a.m., and it turns out he was born at 5:11 p.m. So I rectified that one to the minute as well. I've kind of figured out a couple of my grandparents, but then I got their birth certificates, and it's just been a wild ride. So astrology, I think, is best when you discover it through yourself first. And, like I said, I thought I had my proper birth time. It really didn't change much except the fact that I have I guess it would be like an intercepted fourth and 10th house versus the sixth and 12th house that I thought I had. So, there's just so much about when you get that proper birth time and what it can all fix. And hello, I see the chat. What's up, Gracey? Glad to be here. I'm glad to have you here too. NPC Kiyoshima Bromario. That's such an incredible name. And Jelly Bellies, yay, you're here. What tips do you have for rectification? My biggest tip is, what time does this person come alive during the day? For mine, I always joked, like before I even knew my birth time, that I woke up at the crack of noon every day. It was a running joke in my family that I don't like doing anything before noon. And so when I went to college and I signed up for morning classes, everyone else in my family knew I was going to fail out because I just don't do things in the morning. But I'm here before morning now because I've grown into my Aries sun, and that is my 10th house supercharged sun. And it's like, it's alive and well. I wake up at the crack of dawn without even trying most days. So the other tip I have, like with my dad, I thought he was 5:11 a.m. because he always woke up at 5 a.m. Now that he's gotten older and he doesn't travel nonstop for work anymore, he sleeps into like 9 or 10 most mornings, and like 8 a.m. is really early for him now. And I found out his birth time was 5:11 p.m. And that made a lot more sense because he was so happy hour driven. Like when I tell you the Leo Pluto generation, I feel like are the biggest alcoholics I've ever met. It's so real. Like they love themselves a happy hour. And it's not like alcoholic in the negative sense. I should probably just say they're big drinkers, big socializers. And it seems to be alcohol that like did it for all of them. So my dad was really into after work martinis, which he's self-employed and had a home office for most of my life growing up. So he's already at home. So I think he just wanted to get out and go to the bar. So I think that there's definitely some correlation with how a person comes alive with the day. And, a lot of people that have really early birth times are considered like 1:30 in the morning. Yes, that's in the middle of the night. So it's a night chart, but it's also when somebody can come, like if somebody's a night owl or if somebody is super, super into getting things done at night. My other half, the love of my life, has a really early morning birth time, and he will stay up till 3 or 4 in the morning getting his work done, go to sleep from 3 to like 10, and then be up and just getting stuff done for the rest of the day. It's truly fascinating. And I think the birth time is also when you can unlock a lot of things. If you guys have paid attention to any of my social media posts, I usually schedule them. The only one that I am 100% there and don't know what the fuck I'm doing on is Substack right now. So if you guys follow me on Substack, then you will know that I am getting my feet under me. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's a new platform and it's a lot of things. I don't know if I'm supposed to restack things or like things. I'm like figuring all the little, like, I guess I can go live on Substack. So if you guys wanted to maybe next year I put the live streams behind Substack. I think that would be terrible, honestly, for my visibility and any sort of like growth that I want to have. So I'm probably always going to stick with YouTube. So YouTube is one that I'm usually present on. I don't get notifications for anything. I don't have social media apps on my phone. I do use mobile web Twitter. It's so embarrassing when I say this out loud because, like I said, my other half is in esports gaming and in technology. And he's like, babe, why don't you just download a mobile app? It's not going to kill you. I'm like, I don't want them to have my information. Everything has your information always. I hate to tell you this. If you use the internet, you have been tracked. Like, unless you're Ron Swansoning it up in some cabin somewhere, I don't know. I feel like everyone is just, their information is all over the internet, and it's unfortunate for sure. I do think that there's a lot to be said about the willingness of social media participation lately. It's getting less and less for me. There's not a lot of interaction really anywhere outside of Twitter for me. Like, I try to post on Instagram. I have like more social media followers on Instagram than I do any other platform, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do here. I posted a video about me talking about not leading with anger, and I think like 5 people watched it, and then I post another post, and like I used to have like 400 or 500 likes like within hours of me posting things. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's broken. But it's really just about consistently doing anything. I'm just going to continue doing what I can, until I streamline some sort of social media presence. I think the live streams are the best way to talk to me each week. I'm here, I'm present, I'm yapping about the cosmos, which is something that I do 100 miles an hour. I have to remember to tell myself to like breathe. We can all sit and breathe if you guys want. That would be fun. I like honestly am too excited to look at this game chart to talk much longer, but I definitely wanted to do a little bit more talking because I've just been like jumping into the game chart and being robot mode. And it's not that I don't like enjoy just getting straight to the point. I love talking to you guys and hearing what you're thinking about, what you're looking forward to. I do want to say that we have that lovely full moon in Taurus coming up, and that is going to be in a few days on the 5th of November. If you guys are into history, that date is already a pretty poignant one. The 13-degree full moon on November 5th is going to be represented in the Sabian symbols by a porter carrying a mountain of heavy baggage. And if you don't know what I'm reading from, it's our book we wrote. I am pretty proud of the full and new moon section of this. It is quite a large one, but it talks about all the things to do and rituals that you can do with each lunation. We do have the eclipses left out just because, like, come on, what are we trying to do? Just exist through eclipse season. We don't need to, like, manifest more chaos. I think we've done that plenty as a civilization. The theme of this full moon is dropping baggage, though. What no longer serves you, what no longer is going to be something that you move into this next era with. And full moon to full moon is how I can judge the full moon energies. If you wanted to go back, we had a full moon last on October 6th. That one was at 14 degrees Aries. And it was all about this ancient knowledge that's out for grabs, but also it's about honing your craft, and it was about understanding the beauty of movement and community, and possibly even dancing and the glittering lights around you. And this new moon, or this full moon, is a little bit more releasing, and the baggage that maybe crossover from childhood. The truth degree of this full moon is 14 degrees Taurus, which is on a beach. Children play while shellfish grope at the edge of the water. It is about coexistence. It is about understanding that, like, you can be at play without harming others, and while being in harmony with nature, as well as the solution degree for this is a man with a silk hat muffled against the cold braves a storm. I don't know about you all lately, but the economy has absolutely kind of put a damper on a lot of things this fall for so many people. And I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that millions and millions of Americans have lost stability or consistent food source access. So there's so much that is happening right now where the rich seem to be getting richer and those that are unable to make ends meet just seem to be unable to do that more and more. So I think the man in the silk hat braving a storm, there's people right now that aren't used to not having money. There's people out there right now that have bills to be paid and are waiting to pay them because of checks not coming in. And I think that it's really important to prepare for the winter as much as you can spiritually, emotionally, and sometimes it does come down to financially. And with so much being available to the world around us where you can create a small business, especially in the United States. If you live in the United States, it's like there's 400 ways to make money here, right? We have so many opportunities, but at the same time, there's what people are saying is a lack of jobs and a lack of, places for people to go. And it's just about balancing and understanding, like, the excess that is available with Jupiter and Cancer, especially when that was heightened with Venus and the moon in August. I think Empress Atlantis was talking about like, hey, did all those takeout meals you ordered in August come back and haunt you? And I'm like, yeah, they did actually. Like now I'm cooking at home. And by me, I mean, we're all cooking at home. And it's like, we're not doing the extravagance as much as we were. And that's okay. We go through ebbs and flows. I at least got my altar out for my ancestors this weekend. And it's like the tough times don't last, but tough people do mentality is absolutely from these guys. Like all of these relatives of mine grew up in much worse conditions. My grandmother was at home raising kids and having a full household cleaning schedule each week on top of having a presence at church and having a presence at her Eastern Star Club. My other grandma was a medical librarian and kept herself busy with a ton of socializing and being able to go out and about and visit her friends and see them. It was just very busy people, and they took everything that they did and they saved it and they took care of it and they made things last. And that's part of what this message is. And I got the chance to be in a Samhain ritual with Mariah, my editor, and the editor for the Northern. My editor, she's mine, not yours. No, she's the editor. Let's put it that way. And we were able to do this amazing ritual where she did a meditation. We protected ourselves with white and golden light. We talked with our ancestors. We got a word from them. My word was titanium. And I looked up titanium. Of course, it's the 22 element. And I was born on March 22nd. So that really, I love the number 22. It is a master builder number, but it is the kill or be killed degree in astrology if you use degree theory. So that is definitely something that has been embodied a lot in my life. So that being like, okay, this is my message, but also titanium is very, very high strength and low density. And I'm here for the low density part and not having this baggage or this insurmountable weight that we're carrying around from our past or from the shame or guilt that we have around having these extra spiritual practices that aren't anything like our relatives. My entire mom's side of the family is very, very Christian, and I don't think they talk about or even acknowledge my astrology work, and that's okay. If they're uncomfortable with it, that's on them. And it's like, I know that there's people that go around all the time saying that astrology and divination is witchcraft. And I'm like, bro, Jesus was an astrologer. Grow up. Don't know how to tell you this, but he worked with the Essenes, and the Essenes are part of the original astrologers, and they had the ancient information from the cosmos themselves. So chances are your boy was an astrologer, and it's kind of funny that you guys don't want to acknowledge his magic possibly being something where he had knowledge of the planets that his dad made. I mean, like, come on. A lot of things that I just don't understand. But the Bible was a heavily edited book, and we have to remember that the Bible has been edited for control reasons, for patriarchal reasons, to put Mary Magdalene as some crazy woman that had all these problems and all these sins within her. It's like you gotta go through the layers, right, of anything. And if you want esoteric wisdom, and if you seek this knowledge that is very much available for those with eyes to see, you have to go and look for it. Like, you can't just chat GPT your way through ancient texts. Like, it is almost comical that people are like, oh, well, chat GPT says, like, oh, duh, duh, duh. Shut up. If you use chat GPT, don't talk to me. Like, it's just, please leave me alone. I don't need regurgitated alien information from half-assed people pulling things from the internet. Like, I want to read a book. Read books. I don't know how hard it is to just pick. I have a ninth house Mercury, so I would rather read a book than talk to a human any day. And some people just talk to other people or consume information from TikTok or Instagram Reels, or even Facebook gets the boomers each and every time. So we don't have to go into that. There's just so much things that like people just put out there, and is this real? Is this fake? That is the biggest part of moving forward in life, being able to discern what is AI and what is actually human made. That's a huge win. Um, and I know people use AI, and I know they're going to use it forever. I know that I probably use AI in ways that I don't even know about because it's just built into our everyday lives now. So I'm forever on the brink of being like, look, I know it's everywhere and I know that it does so much, but if you use AI to replace artists, it's just like, grow up. Like, there's so many talented people out there. And yes, they can't just paint a painting in 2 seconds while a tree burns down. That's not how it works. But yeah, a canvas is using a tree, having a high res camera to be able to take a photo of that canvas and use it in a high res situation like a magazine, or if you're streaming, using it as art elements. Like, there's so much of that I get is easier to use AI, but it's like, think of what you're doing to your brain every time you press an easy button. You're losing the ability to discern. You're losing the ability to freely think. I think thinking is one of the greatest things that I can do with my day. Like, if I just sit and think about things, chances are I have worked through stuff by the time I am done with my day that I'm like, wow, good for me. Part of the ancestral celebration is honoring the great parts and the not so great parts about your ancestors. And the things that I love about my ancestors, that it didn't take me long to find these open-minded, brilliant people. On my dad's side of the family, my grandfather was a psychiatrist and happened to be the head of psychiatry at 2 hospitals here in Kansas City. He died in 1973, way ahead of his time. Should have lived forever, but he had a bad heart, and that's just something that has been passed down to my dad. So now I'm watching my dad slowly age, and he's had a lot of complications, and he's had so many surgeries. He has another heart procedure coming up on the 11th, and I'm very much holding as much space as possible for him to heal and him to recover and get back on his feet with his rhythm of life that he's used to. And you think about these things that get passed down, and you're like, it is on us to stop that cycle, to stop that rotation, to stop that from happening, to stop that continuing. And, as someone with 2 children that are a preteen and teen, I have witnessed so many patterns that I helped break just in the early decade or so that they've been alive. So I'm very grateful for that. And the ability to learn how to reparent myself has been huge. And so I thank them for all the things that they have passed down that are not so great, but I get a chance to break. But they've lived their life loudly. And I know that I am one of the first women in my family to do exactly what she wants every day and live my life loudly as possible and speak openly about my beliefs and not have to hide or shun parts of myself because they don't align with the rest of my family's values. And I think that's incredible. I think it's a gift, and I'm grateful for it each and every day. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the current happenings, the transits of today's game. This game is going to be a fun one. It is going to be, I think, the best game of the week. I'm surprised it's not a Sunday night game, but I feel like if you keep giving the Chiefs prime time, they're going to keep pissing everyone off. So might as well have them in this nice little 3:25 p.m. slot. Um, Definitely going to make sure here that things are, I think I have the chart wrong, which is going to be really fun to be like, okay, cool. But I think it is Chiefs game here is at 325, and I think the Buffalo game is actually at 425 in Buffalo. So I am going to pull that up real quick and fix that, and then we'll just work from there because I can do everything super quick on the fly. So today being 11/2, and then we have that at 4:25 p.m. since Buffalo, I think, is in. Yeah, I'm 99% sure. So we're just going to find out on the fly. Yep, they're in Eastern. So I'm glad I caught that. It's never too late to fix anything. I have this chart everywhere too. So that's really funny that that is the case for today. So I have the chart wrong everywhere, but it's almost Mercury retrograde. So I think that's why I finally caught it right at the beginning here, right? So I'm like, might as well. We're going to save this, and it kind of changes everything. And that's okay because the game solo is going to be fun, and we'll just edit it all as we go. Because why not? Chiefs at Bills. Pull this up. Okay, so the Chiefs at Bills, we have the I thought things were going to be crazy today for Kareem Hunt because I have 29. The last chart was all 29s. And instead of having all 29s, we have 11, and then the MC is at 13, and the IC is at 13. So it does change things a little bit, and that's okay. I'll just have to make all these as I go, and you guys will just be watching me do all of that. So the first thing that we're going to, oh my God, I have it wrong again. This is absolutely Mercury getting me so hard. I have it at AM. Like, no, they're not playing at 4:25 AM. I'm like, I don't think a Libra chart should I don't think it should go from a Pisces to a Libra. That makes no sense. 4:25 PM. Let's save this again. Desktop. I'm using Astrogold. If you guys are not already aware of Astrogold, it is one of my favorite things in the world. The software is incredible. The optics on it are incredible. I love the graphics. I love what you're capable of doing with those graphics. So, all right, guys, we've got the game. I'm just going to change this on my phone real quick, and you guys can look at the chart. And since we've had a totally different chart, now you can see the actual one that we're going to be using. And while it doesn't look to have anything, we do have an intercepted first and seventh house, so that'll be different. So go ahead and look at the chart, and I'll fix the graphics over here. Okay, so I got the charts done that I needed to get done. Oh my gosh, like what an actual mess that is. So if you guys are wondering if I am getting hit by Mercury retrograde, of course I am. In uh Vedic astrology, I have a Gemini rising and obviously ruled by Mercury, I'm going to get hit. In tropical astrology, I have a Cancer rising ruled by my Gemini moon, so of course I'm getting hit. So anytime Mercury retrograde happens, I have a Pisces Mercury. So I'm already Mercury retrograde, right? I feel like Pisces Mercury is a Mercury retrograde placement. I'm not psyched about this chart now, right? I went from having 29-degree Pisces rising, which 29-degree Pisces is my favorite degree of the zodiac, also happens to be my MC. I now see that we are at a Mars rising, and Mars being in the last degrees of Scorpio makes this so angsty and so much fun. And this will be just a total battle. So, Mars rising, Aries rising chart, this is a war chart. And if we are looking at two opponents like the Chiefs and the Bills that have had some AFC beef since day one, this has been a very loud rivalry in the last few years, and Josh Allen's presence no doubt makes that a big part of it. If they were just with some rinky-dink quarterback that sucked, it'd be different. Josh Allen does have a tendency to let the Chiefs get to him mentally, so I will say that this game is going to be a battle of mental strength, and there's no joke with that Aries moon in the 12th house. So all of my notes that I prepared, which are on this little post-it note, are now null and void. So there's that. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a couple of the charts that I had, fun charts, and I'm going to get those available for you guys too. So we do have some players charts to look at, because I don't want to just go out and not give you those. Like last time, even though I was like, we're not going to talk about those, I still talked about them, and I think that they're fun. And even though it cuts down a lot on my time to not cover those, it's also like kind of doing a disservice to not show these guys and like talk about all their different strengths and possible weaknesses for last time. Because last time I did say Noah Gray was going to have a good game. He ended up having a drop pass that was a pretty big deal, but it was like, hey, you know, he still had made some great blocks. He was still very physical, and he still had a big presence. So, you know, even the times where I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is necessarily the case, it does end up working out quite well. So last time I had mentioned the fourth house, I think it was Lilith, and that showed up. It was White Moon Lilith. I'm sorry, not Lilith. There's Black Moon Lilith and White Moon Lilith. And, you know, that was the fourth house that we started looking at immediately. With today's game, with the game solo chart here, I'm going to try and make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. I promise you it's the correct time. I double promise you that because I just had to redo it all. Okay, so with that being said, we're going in and looking at that Mars rule chart. Mars is over in the 7th house. This is a deeply, deeply personal game for not only the Chiefs, but also the Bills. It's a very much cutthroat, very much at your opponent's up their ass. Basically, you know, Scorpio does happen to rule over the groin and bowels, so it can be literally. But you know, they are clawing at each other, stinging at each other, whatever you want to look at it, whatever Scorpio representation you want to look at it. And that Mars happens to be trine Jupiter in the 4th house. So that Mars is trine Jupiter in the 4th house, which does indicate that the home team, aka the Bills, are going to have some luck here today. I do want to put into motion that Mars and Lilith trine in the 7th house with Jupiter is also forming a grand trine with Neptune and Saturn in Pisces. So not everything, especially that Jupiter in Cancer, is going to be as it seems, you know, with Neptune retrograde and Saturn retrograde also trine and forming a grand water trine with Mars and Lilith. So that is what is ruling over the game today and the aspects that we are looking at here. I mean, the grand water trine is happening for everyone. So we are experiencing this. It just depends on where it is in your chart, not only with the Scorpio sun being there just on the outskirts of it, but also the North Node and Pisces. There's something about, though, Virgos today, because Virgo's in that 6th house with that South Node, looking like possibly some sort of former injury or something that could have flared up from before. But that part of fortune conjunct the South Node does make me a little bit squeamish for the physicality of it. Vertex also being in the 6th house, so it is going to be a highly physical game today. So yes, If you're looking for the answers of is this game going to be a big back and forth and is this going to be an exciting game to watch, all of that says yes. Going into the seventh house where the sun is, the pettiness of today's game is going to be wild to watch. Absolutely. I'm kind of excited just to see how it plays out. Going into that ninth house where the Chiefs are represented as a travel team, I do like Vesta there at the 23 degree, especially because the karmic degree of that is all about working together. Yeah, the karmic. I was like, I don't know which one I said. So it is represented in the Sabian symbols by a group of immigrants fulfilling the requirements for entering a new country. The joy of it, or the truth degree of it, is a bluebird, a sign of good luck and happiness, standing at the door of the house. And then the solution degree is a chubby little rich boy rides upon a hobby horse, which is one of my favorite degrees. It starts the last degrees of Sagittarius being this kind of like insecure little kid, little rotund child. There's a chubby little rich boy riding a hobby horse at 25, and then 29 degrees Sagittarius is represented by a fat boy mowing a lawn, which to me is the peak insecurity of Sagittarius. It's like doing stuff that you're not physically capable of doing, but doing it anyways to prove your strength. That last decan of Sagittarius is ruled by Saturn, so I feel like that's why it shows up. But that Vesta happens to be trine the rising of today's game, and if we go into the last degrees of Aries, 26 degrees Aries is one of my favorite degrees of Aries. The last degrees of Aries are kind of beautiful themselves, and this 26 degree Aries is all about never dumbing yourself down. Don't dull your light. Don't dumb yourself down. Don't let anyone stop your shine. Don't let people tell you how to live. It's very much about living this authentic, loud, and beautiful, magnanimous life. I have notes in here that say you give meaning to everything. So it's very much like symbols are loud here. I guess I started talking about the fourth house, White Moon Lilith, and never finished up because I just had a flashback to talking about that last week. I mentioned that there's going to be a feel good, heartwarming story leading up to the game. And then we had the profile on George Karloftis's family and his Greek grandfather and his like love of water polo and how like he just knew he was going to be an athlete professionally when he grew up, and I thought that was lovely. The truth degree of today's rising is through imagination, a lost opportunity is regained. So recently, my favorite astrologer, Linda Hill, posted on Substack a note about the current happenings of Chiron and how the opposite Venus has just been like such a drag for so many people. And there's a lot of healing going on, a lot of childhood healing, a lot of things around childhood healing that people are just like, oh, this is what I can do instead of being angry. And it's a lot of healing anger, forgiving people from the past. There's a lot of things happening with Chiron in the last degrees of Aries. So she told us about it. And with her article, she mentioned that 27 degrees Aries is the degree of second chances. So, if anything, I think that this game is going to be a game of second chances, whether it be, with this intercepted first house and Uranus in that intercepted first house, barely. It is barely in that intercepted first house. The second house starts at 0 degrees, 16 minutes, and Gemini, and Uranus retrograde is at 0 degrees, 12 minutes, Gemini. So that would have made a big difference with that 29 degree Pisces chart, but that's okay. We digress. This means that I do think that is off to a flip-floppy start. When Uranus is in the first house, I'm like, yeah, it's electric, but it's also chaos. So good luck. Mercury is directly across from Uranus. So I think mercurial placements today might have a little bit of a tendency to be really hot and then really cold. We'll see how that goes. Usually when Uranus is opposite Mercury, there can be a sudden charge or this polarizing tension, because when you have opposites, like the tension in the middle of those opposites are so thick and crazy. So definitely going to be interested to see how that goes. Second house of today's game being empty. Same with the third house. That can just show pace of game is really up to Mercury, which is opposite that Uranus in the first house. So, boy, is it going to be a fun one today. Uh, Definitely see that third house starting at 23 degrees Gemini. That degree is a degree of falling out of a tree, but yet trusting your instincts to be okay. And maybe other people might not be okay, but like you're going to be okay. And you can set the tone, or you can like help others out of this like high up tree nest. The degree is three fledglings up in a tree, high up in a nest in a tree. And it's the degree of my Chiron. So I know this one very well. And it can be very much about leading people with your own actions. So, third house communication base is going to be very intense for those with Mercury placements. Like I said, Mercury is slowly stationing. Uh, and I think retrograde kicks off on the 9th. So, like, we have a week. So, it'll be very interesting to see how Mahomes does today versus next week when Mercury is actually retrograde. Yeah, we'll just see how that goes. But today we have that White Moon Lilith in Leo in the 5th house. So creativity from the heart is going to be loud today. Then going into that 6th house, like I talked about, that South Node and part of Fortune conjunction. I'm circling it, but you guys can't see that I'm circling it. So one day I'll have a pointer. Then we go in and see that Venus opposite Chiron right there on the ascendant and descendant. So this is going to be a lot of carrying the weight of your mental actions, carrying the load on your back of all the shit that you've done to yourself mentally. A lot of people break mentally. A lot of people can't hang mentally when it comes to that Venus and Chiron opposition. It's like it's too much for them, especially with that kind of grand cross with, well, it's not, it's a T square. The Chiron and then Venus and then Jupiter. It's like, oh, if we had something in Capricorn there, which we don't need to have because we had Pluto there for long enough, that would form a giant grand cross. But we've got this T square with both Chiron and Venus and Jupiter. So interesting times that we're going to be having. But it's definitely not just like a blind luck thing. I do think that, with Venus squaring Jupiter and Mars trining Jupiter, there is going to be a big factor of Jupiter in this chart. So if anything, maybe the Bills get a few calls or get some blind luck from the referees at some point. But I do think that with Venus squaring Jupiter and also Mars trining Jupiter, we're going to have a little bit of that like blind spot energy from the home team. With the sun in the 7th house, like I said, very petty, very one-on-one. This is big rivalry, like we talked about at the very beginning of the stream. Having Lilith and Mars nice and tight there in the 7th house, it's like divine purifying anger from the root chakra will be pouring out of this game. And we're really going to see who's actually able to rise above and dominate and do so on the road and under extreme circumstances and pressure, and who's going to fold under that. So, this is a huge test for the Chiefs. Obviously, they've had a few home games where they've shown up loudly, and that's been great. But it's like, what do you do on the road that really defines who you are as a football team? Going into that 9th house, we talked about Vesta being there, and Vesta being in the 9th house and trine the rising. We didn't talk about the solution degree for the rising today. But this is the number one reason I think the Bills are going to lose. And it's because the solution degree for the rising is represented by a large disappointed audience. And that is perfect to have the scene set for Chiefs victory today. With the moon at 3 degrees Aries, I do think the Chiefs are winning by 3 points. So if you're just here for that, you can, I don't know, is it nod off? Like sawed off? I don't know what it is. I don't know the term, but you can get out of here if you want. Chiefs are winning by 3 points today, but it's going to be an insanely intense, difficult, trudge through the mud type game, and anger is going to be louder than ever with this game. Mercury also happens to be trine the moon today, so if you don't think that this is going to end with some verbal altercations or begin with some verbal altercations or just have some verbal altercations, you are sorely mistaken. I am going to go ahead and fix the Chiefs and Bills game here so we can look at the actual, you know, correct chart. Gracey had quite the mishap there with being like, oh yeah, 3:25 p.m. in Buffalo, not remembering that, oh yeah, the Bills at Buffalo means they're in a different time zone. Got it. So we can get rid of the game solo since the Chiefs are the opposing or the visiting team. I'll go ahead and start with the home team. So right here we have the Chiefs and Bills game with the Bills on the outer wheel. If you are unfamiliar with synastry charts, this is what they look like. Bills are about to be going through their solar return. They also have their Venus and their moon conjunct that south node in the sixth house. So, very interesting to see what will happen here for the Bills. But nothing in the intercepted first house. They've got their Lilith in Gemini station retrograde in that second house. So, maybe they control the pace of the game a little bit, but it's slower to start, or I don't really know because Lilith and Gemini doesn't seem really slow at all, but station retrograde maybe a little. Going into that third house, nothing there for the Bills. Same with the fourth house. And then we get to the fifth house and we have Uranus and Pluto. So since the Chiefs and the Bills have had their starting dates relatively close to the same, they will have a few placements like their Pluto right there with the Chiefs. So you'll see that in the tri wheel, which I guess I should also update because oh my gosh, I still can't believe I got like that by Mercury retrograde. Like, oh my God. So we're seeing that for the sixth house, their North Node and Vesta are right there. The Vesta is conjunct Venus for today, which I do think gives them a little bit more padding or bubble or safety for physicality. But I will be interested to see how they do with that South Node visiting their Venus and then that part of fortune exactly conjunct their Venus. So that moon, of course, is a noon chart, so it might not be completely right there, but it's definitely in Virgo. So having that be their energy, Virgo moons are highly critical of themselves and also others, and it's in a way that makes them feel a little bit more secure in their world. So if they let people know, hey, I don't like this or this doesn't work for me, it's not them like attacking you. They just want to vocalize that they are not being, their needs aren't being met, or maybe they would do things differently. I mean, Virgos in general are going to have like a list of things for you to fix. And it's not because they hate you, it's just because they have high standards, and that's okay. Earth signs are allowed to have high standards, just like fire signs are allowed to change their mind. And water signs are allowed to be in the depths emotionally with it, and air signs are allowed to just flit from thing to thing and not think about it until 3 to 5 days later. There's just so much about the different qualities that each sign offers. So having Virgo be Virgo moon and Venus is actually pretty beautiful if you think about it. It's a very cozy, like I feel like every time I think of Virgo moons, I think of the little mice in living in those little tiny homes in the trees, and like you open up the tiny door and there's a little Virgo moon like, hello, I've made you some soup. So they're not always just the critical, but when you don't have a solid relationship with your own feminine energy or your mother, the Virgo moon can come off as hypercritical. The Vesta and Venus conjunction for the Bills is definitely going to be interesting. I think that it will maybe burn out Venus if they try to do too much at the beginning. We'll see how that kind of works. The Bills have a Sun and Mars conjunction, and that will be loosely conjunct the Sun as well as Venus or Neptune in Scorpio there in the seventh house. Venus is nowhere near any of that, so I'm not really sure why I said Venus, but going into that, we also have Juno and Pallas Athena as well as Mercury, all in Scorpio, all in that seventh house. So if you wonder who wants it more, I feel like Bills look at the Chiefs like it's their Super Bowl every time they play them. Probably because the Bills haven't gone to the Super Bowl in a while, thanks to the Chiefs. But the Bills also, thanks to themselves, aren't really like they're there and they get there and then they just haven't quite got there since. And losing 4 Super Bowls in a row with something that like Sean McDermott was like, it's hard to get there, and I'm like, it's also hard to lose 4 in a row. We might get to our 4th Super Bowl in a row this year. The Kansas City Chiefs will, And Sean was all like, it's not going to happen again for a long time. And I'm like, well, at least we won 2 of them so far. Like, losing all of them is certainly a choice, Buffalo. I'm just talking shit. Buffalo fans, like, you guys are used to it by now. Chiefs fans really don't vibe with you guys that much. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's like they're almost like the Philly fans of New York, and it's like it's almost bad as Philly. The fans are interesting. I do want to say that I'm a fan of them. I have been ever since I was sponsored by Zubaz in 2014. Back in the day, my sports blog was partnered with Zubaz, the zebra stripe pants, and single-handedly from 2014 till about 2018, I felt like I supplied the Midwest with Zubaz pants, and definitely the Kansas City area. Everyone knew me if they saw the pants. Like my old babysitter that I had for my kids when I was always traveling and working thought that I owned the company because of how many pairs of pants were all over the house. And that was the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, no, I don't own Zubaz, but I was friends with Dan Stock, the original co-founder of Zubaz, and we had a great working relationship, and he just sent me so many pairs of them that I was covered in them. So I love Buffalo's dedication to Zubaz. Like, and it's not Zubaz. For the love of God, if you're going to honor the great and mythical presence of the zebra stripe pant and every other thing that they make with them, they made headbands, they made underwear, they made leggings, they make all of the things. It's pronounce it correctly. It's Zubaz, not Zubaz. Like, oh my God, you sound like you're from St. Louis when you say that. No, thank you. I would hate the Rams. Like, if they're still in St. Louis, that would be my number one hated on team. So you guys just get some Buffalo flagrant things left and right. It's not too bad. I've said a lot worse. I used to get into fights with Buffalo fans when I was a sports media personality. And there was this one woman who had, hands down, the worst eyebrows I have ever seen in my life. And they were like, and it's like, look, we all learned at a certain age to stop plucking them, to leave them the fuck alone. Mine grow with the strength of Wolverine every single day. So I am constantly trimming, honing, and managing them. It is a full-time job. But this woman, hers were like so thin, and they started probably right here and just went right here. And so they looked like little like commas. And so I called her Captain Crybrows because she was crying in this video because the Kansas City Chiefs beat them again. And I'm like, guys, I don't know why you're so shocked by this, but it keeps happening. And yeah, the Bills beat us last year in regular season, but when it counts, like the playoffs, they didn't. So this woman was just like sobbing, and it was years ago at this point. But I quote tweeted her photo of her crying over the Chiefs, or her video, and said, "Shut the hell up, Captain Crybrows," and it became a nickname for her, and I'm sure it still sticks. And I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm glad that I could be a part of Buffalo Bills fandom history. I don't know. I'm sorry, I guess, but also don't have that bad of eyebrows. And then videotape yourself crying over sports. Like, cry over something that has meaning. Like, not a Roman peanut circus game. Like, come on. No, but I think it's funny just because it's like the team history that I have with the Bills is nothing serious at all. Going into that 8th house where we do see gambling and odds, I do think the Chiefs are going to like drive them to the breaking point. I don't think the Bills are going to lose by more than a touchdown. I saw my friend Kelly in Vegas pick the Bills. She teased the Bills. She doesn't think they're going to lose by anything more than a touchdown. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm okay with the Chiefs being at that 3-point favorite. Yeah, they're going to win by 3. The Chiefs are. So if you're just now tuning in and you're waiting for me to spit out the predictions, I already have. You're late. Going into the 9th house, where we see Saturn at 2 degrees. Today I learned that the Buffalo Bills and I have the exact same Saturn. How neat is that? 2 degree Saturn square my 2 degree Aries sun. The good news is 2 degrees is a power sign. So if Buffalo Bills fans are looking for anything here, a Capricorn Saturn, a Saturn in its home sign of Capricorn, also Saturn is at home in Aquarius, is not a bad thing. Definitely shows discipline and shows ability to keep up. But I do think that this will be interesting to see on the tri wheel. So I'm going to save my observations for what happens until then. Going into that 11th house, the Bills have their Chiron at 22 degrees Aquarius. And if you've been following my sports streams at all, you'll know that the Chiefs have Saturn at 22 degrees Aquarius. So that is another sign that I'm like, maybe we'll see. Going into that 12th house, the Bills have their south node at 3 degrees Aries, which is where not only the moon, but also Ceres is today. So if you're also watching and wondering like, okay, so what does that mean? Having a south node conjunct the moon is let's just say I have the synastry with my other half and my south or my moon is conjunct his south node, and it can feel uncomfortable for sure. It can feel like one side is more tuned in or joined in than the other. But the best part is when you start to feel familiar with that. So if the Bills today end up choosing to feel familiar with the moon and they're like, okay, we know this angry rage. We know that we're going to get pissed off every time we play the Chiefs. So here's what's going to happen. And here's how we mitigate this. That would be the steady, very solid approach. You know, the Bills are familiar with this energy, it lives inside their team. Um, 3 degrees Aries is kind of a funny degree because it's the truth degree to my son, and it's a cameo suggests the profile of a man that suggest or a cameo shows the profile of a man that suggests the outline of his country. So it's like a simple yet strong definition of an individual's character, shape, loyalties, and role in life. The cameo suggests the appearance of a growing objective awareness of how someone fits in the larger picture. You may find that you or someone else have a more important role than was previously thought, or that you are imprinting your mark. So this south node is also squaring that Saturn that we talked about for the Bills in that ninth house. So we'll see how the Bills respond today. It will be an interesting thing because the Bills could easily be winning by 3 here with that south node, but I still think that it is going to be the Chiefs by 3. So look at this, another chart that's correct because I actually have the right time put up. Isn't that great? Yay! I love Mercury retrograde. It is such a good time to learn and be like, yes, I knew better, but at the same time, did I? Yay. So the Chiefs today have their Venus, Mercury, Moon all in the first house. With these Taurus placements and what we've seen from the Chiefs so far is these like slow starts that nobody is a fan of. I know some people might be like, yeah, it's great every time this Chiefs slow start because that means our team has a chance. Wrong. That just means that we're studying things and figuring out even more. No, the Bills absolutely have a chance today. The Chiefs do kind of set that tone, I think, for the pace of the game with their sun only being separated from Uranus by that invisible line with that first and second house cusp. Having their sun in the second house will help with pace of game more, but this does indicate to me that maybe the Chiefs are off to a little bit slower, more comfortable start. They might just kind of like get a little bit emotional or frustrated with themselves, but that's also because their Mercury and Moon are opposite Mars and Lilith in Scorpio. So that could definitely add some flavoring, right? That could definitely add some seasoning to this rather not saying that Taurus doesn't have seasoning, but putting anything with Mars and Scorpio into the mix is going to be spicy. So having that across from their Mercury retrograde and Moon conjunction, that could definitely be a little bit dicey, and they're going to have to work their way through that one. And this is going to be first, little part is going to be figuring out their physicality, figuring out their voice, figuring out their tempo, and then they're going to set the tone of that game pretty loudly in that second house. Going into the fourth house, that's where we see the north node for the Chiefs conjunct Jupiter by 4 degrees, and their north node is a retrograde north node, as most of them are. But when you have a one that's direct, it's usually an anomaly. Their Pallas Athena is conjunct Lilith, White Moon Lilith in that fifth house. So I do think that they're going to have to be a lot more creative today. They are going to have to be creative. They're going to have to be heart driven, and they're going to have to operate from the heart loudly and have no problem showing off. The world is their stage, and they're going to have to act like it. Having their Pluto in that sixth house, we're going to look at that tri-wheel chart, and it'll give us a lot more indication of what's going to be happening here. With that Neptune conjunct the sun, things could get a little bit murky. This is just the time for veils to be lifted, things to be revealed, things to be happening that could be a little bit personal, could be the storylines or the themes for today. We'll see how that goes. Then we go into that eighth house, which is empty for the Chiefs. Same with that ninth house. So that kind of gives me some hope that Vessel will bring the energy to that area that's kind of lackluster for the Chiefs. They do have their South Node in the 10th house today. They're used to being in the spotlight. This is nothing new. That 22-degree Saturn in the 11th house is opposite their Mars natally, so that kind of energy is something that they're already used to. There's nothing really in Leo outside of that white moon Lilith that's going to be adding some spice to the 5th house. Fire signs will always add spice whenever I mention them and things. I'll be like, that's going to add spice. Kicking today, that Chiron in the 12th house does not give me a lot of faith, but we have to have faith if we're going to believe in that 3-degree Aries moon being an indicator for today's game. Jupiter in Aries in the 12th house. I almost said 10th house, but 12th house at 10 degrees. Ooh, okay, so we've seen this. We've seen it with the Taurus rising charts. We've seen it with the charts from last year. We've seen it with all the things. And I think, if anything, the Ceres, Chiron, and Moon conjunction all in Aries could be a little bit about using their anger for good. I think the Chiefs have seen more people get frustrated and show that outward anger this year than last year. I mean, people are actually fighting on the fields and stuff with this team. So it's been a spicy season, and maybe that's my word for today, since I'm not saying loosely anymore, because that was all I was like, everything's loosely conjunct, and I'm like, oh my god, it's 1 degree away. What do you mean it's loosely conjunct? So spicy is my word this week. All right, the famed tri-wheel. The tri-wheel is where most people's brains start breaking, and if you are one of them, I get it. I'm not going to judge you. There's no judgment here at all. Even though I told you guys stop using LOL to finish sentences, everyone commented on my YouTube video that I, of course, knew it was coming. They'd finish all their sentences in the comments with LOL. And I'm like, thanks, guys. Really mature. Let's look at Noah Gray's chart. I think I pulled that one up. Yes, I did. Did I send it to this computer? That'll be yes, I did. Ha ha ha. So that'll be one of the fun charts that we pull up correctly, since I screwed up the chart. And thanks, Mercury retrograde, I am learning my lesson. Yay. This tri-wheel starts off at the 26 degrees of Aries. That is the 9 o'clock position. If you are already overwhelmed, like I said, no judgment. It's a lot. Then we go into the first house, which means we drop down to that 8 o'clock position, and that it from the 9 o'clock to the 8 o'clock is the first house. So maybe we just use clocks to figure things out. With that being empty for the Bills and packed for the Chiefs, I do think that the Chiefs make a presence, whether it's slow, whether it's fast and solid, we will find out. It's just going to be the Chiefs really having that first big moment of the game. I think they will. So maybe number 4 with that 4-degree Venus in the first house with Rashid Rice. I do have his chart pulled up too. So we're going to go ahead and do the numbers to watch and the signs to watch while we have this up. So go ahead and you guys can get yours ready if you'd want to as well. Okay, so far I'm going to go with 0, 10, because 10 is the vertex as well as the sun today. Then 18, which is that part of fortune today. Then let's go with going to do some math. Don't worry. I'm going to say maybe 31, and then 36, 50, and then let's keep going. So we can add a few things, or we can times things by a few things. I like to multiply, like if Mercury and the moon are both at 3, then we can go to, let's just do the 29-degree Neptune. So there's 58, and then, yeah, I'm doing a lot of math over here. Just leave me alone. All right, so we got an 87 in there. I do think Noah Gray is going to go and do well, so I'm going to do 83 and 87. And then we didn't have one in the 40s, so I'm going to add a 44. Okay, and then what is Cancer doing today? Cancer's got that Jupiter there. Chris Jones, is he going to disrupt some things? Let's say maybe. I think he will. I think Chris Jones is going to disrupt some things today, so I'm tentatively putting down that 95 as well. Signs to watch for today. Aries. Good Lord, are Aries going to be loud? Loud, loud, loud. Not only is the rising at Aries, but the moon is in Aries as well. So that's definitely going to be a big part of today's game. I'm also going to say Taurus. I don't know, though, what that intercepted. Yeah, let's do Taurus. I'm here for it. Screw it. Let's defy the odds. Leo is going to be the second one, or the third one I'm going to put in there. Virgo is going to be intense. Like, you looked at that 6th house and you just see jam-packed Virgo. Moon and Venus for the Bills, and then Pluto, Juno, Vesta, and White Moon, Lilith, and Ceres, all for the Chiefs. So definitely going to put Virgo in there today. Libra, and then just for fun, I'm going to do a 6th one because I normally don't, and now we are, and I'm going to put Scorpio in there. I just did like all the signs in a row. It's fine. Don't worry. Also, big day for Capricorn. We're going to do 7 signs today. I just want to put Capricorn in there and give some love. So those are the signs to watch for. Those are the signs to put your money on so you can do your own research. But this is it right here. My highly sophisticated method of 0, 10, 18, 26, 31, 36, 44, 50, 83, 87, and 95. Aries, Taurus, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, and Capricorn. I did it. So you guys have all of them right there. My little proof sheet. I kind of sometimes have to carry this with me while the game's going on so I can do my like notes and be like, which ones did I say? Yeah, so that's definitely going to be an interesting one today. And then if you, I kind of want to throw in a 7 there. I really want to throw in a 7. Butker, I know that there's a lot going on, but you can make or break this game today, and I'm going to put some weight on that 7. So 7 is in there now. Super sophisticated method. Yay. I'm okay with this method though, because this method has got me so far, and I'm just really proud that we've been able to do this. So please do not look at any of these charts. I have to fix them, so don't mind me. The charts that I had are not accurate because I put in 3:25 p.m. instead of 4:25 p.m. And then I put 4:25 a.m. and I was like, oh, it's ruled by the 11. I love it when charts are ruled by the 11 degree. Nope, not the case. That is not what happened. Just wrong. So let's go ahead and take a look at Josh Allen's chart since he is the home quarterback. And then we can see how things are going. Not that Josh and Patrick will ever be on the field together at the same time. So that's why I don't do a tri-wheel. But their energies do say a lot. So Josh Allen today has his Taurus Mars in the 1st house conjunct his Mercury in Taurus, station retrograde. Then his sun is right there. Yeah, retrograde mistakes, 100%. Like, I got owned by Mercury retrograde and it's okay. I'm Mercury ruled in Vedic astrology, and I'm ruled by a Gemini moon in tropical astrology. So either way, Mercury gets me, and it's okay. I'd rather it get me than get my car. Okay, this is my public statement to just go get your car, your oil changed, if you have the means to do so. Very much a big thing, especially going into the winter. Tires rotated, oil changed. All right, so in that first house, we see that Mars, Mercury, and White Moon Lilith for Josh Allen are all there. So, yes, this very much could mean that they go up first, that they have some more aggression there. The Chief's sun and Josh Allen's sun happens to be conjunct in Gemini by 1 degree, which is crazy. So, yeah, there's that. The Chiefs would have been, you know, I don't want to say it because like Josh Allen would not come to the Chiefs, but if the Chiefs didn't get Patrick Mahomes, if they didn't trade up with Buffalo, like every single time that we play Buffalo, I'm just like, thanks guys. We traded up to get Mahomes because you guys gave us a draft pick. Thanks guys. You did this to yourselves, guys. If you wouldn't have traded us up that pick, we wouldn't have drafted Mahomes, and I don't think we'd be near in the same level of conversations with the Chiefs that we are in this last 7 years. So yeah, thanks, I guess. Going to that third house, we see empty for the game, but then Josh Allen has his Venus retrograde as well as his vertex there. This is his correct birth time. It is from his birth certificate. It is AA rated. So cool. I'm glad that they got it. His moon is at 22 degrees Cancer, conjunct Jupiter there. And having your moon visited by Jupiter is absolutely a vibe. Like, I am definitely, I was a fan of it. Now I have Uranus conjunct my moon and I'm in therapy. So, yay. I love it though. I'm like, oh my God, talking is so much fun. I'm a Gemini moon. This is perfect. His Lilith and Leo at 0 degrees is there in the fourth house too. So I do think this gives him a very cutthroat approach today. If anyone is emotional or if anyone is going to have outbursts, it might be Josh Allen. That Jupiter conjunct his moon, like I said, it's a blessing. It feels cozy vibes. I love Jupiter in Gemini. It was wonderful. It was right after my Jupiter return, so I was vibing to it, but it also was an overload of thinking, an overload of emotion, overload of that. With Cancer, it could be an overload of feeling, could be an overload of feeling too much. Going into the fifth house, we do see Josh Allen's MC in there, as well as the White Moon Lilith for today's game. Creativity is going to be the name of the game. They got to be creative for today. Absolutely, creativity is going to be big for either team to win. Going into that sixth house, we see the South Node and Part of Fortune, Vertex, and Venus all there for the game. And then Chiron, North Node, and Pallas Athena there for Josh Allen. So very interesting to see that as well. Pallas Athena retrograde as well as Chiron retrograde might be a little bit of a slow start physically, or might be something where he has to take the weight of everything on his back, as the Libra and the lower back are so loud together. So if Josh Allen has lower back pain, that means he's doing too much and needs to chill out. Going into that seventh house, we do see Vesta and his rising in there, and Mars and Lilith conjunct his rising can be absolutely a powerful thing. So Mars in his first house, he's got a lot of oomph there. Pluto conjunct Mercury today, and that Mercury being a very ornery one. I'd be interested to see like how things happen for the Chiefs today, like if there's any mercurial retrograde happenings, just because they have that Gemini sun, and maybe Josh Allen too. We'll see how he does with that Mercury ruled sun. Going into the ninth house, we do see his Part of Fortune conjunct the MC with his Jupiter retrograde, 4 degrees away from that MC. So not loosely conjunct, very conjunct. The Neptune retrograde and Uranus retrograde, both there in the 10th house form too, kind of indicate some weird wiring for him, maybe in the public pressure spotlight. I don't know. Like I said, that large disappointed audience really hit home with the rising of today's game. I'm like, uh-oh. The 11th house is empty for Josh, and then we see the South Node, Saturn, and Juno in there. Juno, the asteroid of commitment and one-on-one relationships. That's a great place to know how you're doing. And with him, his Saturn is right there. or the Saturn is right there, conjunct his Juno. So if anything, maybe he's feeling a little bit of pressure in his home life, or not even pressure. He's just being highly rewarded for all the love he's put into the world around him. His Saturn is in Aries there, and it is conjunct the moon for today, not the sun. So that can be a very like frustrating aspect. He also could have some knee problems today. We'll see how that goes. South Node in the 12th house, Saturn in the 12th house, Juno in the 12th house. That is a little bit more of the petty vibes and possibly that tit for tat energy, or maybe we see some subliminal pettiness. Who knows? That'll be interesting. Going into Mr. Patrick Mahomes' chart, this is his public chart. I do have his actual birth time, as some of you may know, but it's like I don't have the permission from him or his mom to share it. So when I have that, I will, and I just haven't asked. So there's that. You'll know when I've asked because I'll start sharing it. Patrick's South Node is conjunct the rising for today's game. So will he have a little bit of a funky start? Probably. Will it be kind of like all of his other funky starts? Probably. That's one thing about, having these charts and understanding the consistency, understanding the patterns, seeing all the things that happen. It's like, now I know where things are and where things are triggered. And now I think we're year 3. I did all the analysis via text upload in 2023. And then 2024, I started the live show. And then now we're in 2025. So yeah, year 3. Sometimes I just have to figure it out through adding things together and figuring it out loud. So you're welcome. Knowing that that's the case, a lot of these activations aren't bothering me as much for Patrick's chart. His South Node conjunct the rising is an exact placement. Things like his moon aren't exact. His vertex, his MC, his part of fortune, all that stuff that you see in his rising is not Scorpio rising. But the rest of it works. So we can just continue with the rest of it. His moon being in the 3rd house, he's going to be very, very, very vital for communication today. He is going to set the tone. He's going to set the pace. He's going to set everything, and how he approaches it and how he shares that with others. Also expect him to be very emotional about play calling. He might just say, fuck what this guy's doing. I'm going to do it my way. It is what it is. His 4th and 5th house, those are both, or not his, but the game's 4th and 5th house, they're empty for Patrick. Going into the 6th house, his Sun, Chiron, Venus, Ceres, and also Mercury are all there in that 6th house. So look at that. I have double Shadonis on today, the Sun and the Moon. Look at us. That's what I was getting distracted by, was this shiny Shadonis necklace. So don't mind me. The Mercury, Venus, and Chiron all in Libra does wrap around that vertex and Venus in Libra, as well as his Sun and Vesta and Pallas, Athena, all wrapping around that South Node and part of fortune for today's game. I do think this means that Virgos have a bit of a boost physically, so this is going to be something that we kind of figure out. His Juno is also conjunct Vesta by 1 degree in the 8th and 9th house, so that's going to be kind of bridging the gap there of the Vegas odds and also his travel team performance. So I'm excited to see that. That is also squaring his Sun. So that Vesta squaring his Sun today, forming a mutable grand cross with the Saturn in Pisces, Lilith in Gemini, as well as his Virgo Sun, and then Vesta in Sagittarius. So mutable grand cross there for Mr. Patrick Mahomes, and very much one that could inspire him to feel the heat inside, burning inside him. I don't know. Holding that Vestal virginal flame is something that Vesta represents to me. So maybe keeping that flame alive, or keeping that passion and burning passion alive for the rest of his team, since they are the travel team. Who knows? His Mercury is also sextile Vesta today, so I'm interested to see how that kind of works out for him. North Node on the Descendant, as well as his Mars conjunct the Sun in Scorpio, and his Pluto conjunct Mars today. So this is going to be transformative anger from Mr. Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a personally transformative anger. His Jupiter in the 8th house definitely means bet on Mahomes and take that seriously. Going into his Saturn in the 12th house, since that is his Saturn return. He has a Saturn retrograde. Saturn is stationed retrograde, 4 degrees away from his Saturn. This is the last of his Saturn return. Saturn will go direct and then slowly ease its way back in to Aries, and that'll be when the real magic happens. But for now, his Saturn is in between the North Node and Saturn in Pisces, as well as Neptune in Pisces and the moon in Aries. So his white moon Lilith on the ascendant for today and his south node on the ascendant as well on either side, and that is also sandwiching Chiron. So a lot of mental wounds around the Buffalo Bills team are going to be healed today, and things that might have kept him stuck in the past are going to be helping him break free. So with all of that being said, here's the tri-wheel for today's game. If you have any observations, feel free to point them out. I am fighting seasonal changes. Yay. For once, I'm like not smoking weed on the show, so that's exciting, but it's like I still have a runny nose. Of course, but it was really beautiful out today. With this being Samhain and Halloween weekend and Dia de los Muertos and Day of the Dead honoring, it's just been a really cozy weekend of honoring what I come from and the things that we have in our past and the things that, we are made of. So if anything today, this is going to be a game that is continuing that energy, and maybe, with all the numbers I picked and all the signs I picked going off, I do believe the Chiefs are winning by 3 points today. So if you are just now joining us or just tuning in, the Chiefs will be winning the Bills and Chiefs game today by 3 points. The numbers to watch are 0, 7, 10, 18, 26, 31, 36, 44, 50, 83, 87, and 95. So I'm going to jump into the fun charts, which I think I have a couple of them sent here. So I'm going to add an image. You guys are just going to have to deal with my live editing, which I think is fun. It's like, if you guys aren't doing live editing or adding things on the fly, are you really living? Are you really doing a live show? So let's look at this first one of Rashee Rice, okay? For fun, we've got his part of fortune exactly on the rising today. So if you want to talk about a large disappointed audience, let's talk about how Rashee Rice is probably going to be the cause of that. I did mention that 0, 7, and 10 are going to be loud today, but that number 4, if you are looking for some fun prop bets to throw in, you can add Mr. Rashee Rice. He's got his Sun, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars all in that first house. And then you go to the 8th house where it's the gambling odds and Vegas odds. He is jam-packed in there as well. The 10th house and 11th house is where he has a lot of presence as well with his Vesta and South Node. And that Neptune, Vertex, Juno, and Uranus on that 11th house. He's going to be bringing the noise to the team. So I'm definitely excited about that for him. Let's pull up Noah Gray's chart, since Vontae mentioned that Noah Gray is going to have a good game. I think he definitely scores today. I'm hoping, man, because I keep saying that he's going to be scoring, and then I'm like, Noah Gray here? He's been doing blocking like none other. So he's been really, really physical and making his presence known. But it's like, let's get him in the damn end zone, right? So he's got his Jupiter and Mercury in the 12th house right on that ascendant for today's game, as well as his Pallas, Saturn, and Sun all there in the first house. His Venus is going to be in that second house, maybe helping with the pace of the game. Where I think he scores that touchdown is that Moon-Mars conjunction, that Moon-Mars conjunction with the Sun in Scorpio as well. Maybe because he has Mars retrograde, it's later when his Mars return gets separated from transit Mars, and maybe he needed that extra boost. He is having his own personal solar opposition today. So today is the opposite day of his sun. So Sun opposite Sun. Definitely, we're talking about the polarity, and when things are on either side, how much it brings out of people, and how much that tension in the middle is where the sweet stuff really happens and where we get to see the magic all come from. His Chiron station retrograde conjunct Mercury, I don't believe will be too big of a problem. However, I think that will be a big boost for his legs and running. So, absolutely believe with his Chiron and Pluto and Juno all there in the eighth house that Vegas odds will definitely be impacted by Mr. Gray as well. So, you guys can take that one in. Maybe I'll add Mr. Travis Kelsey's on here while you guys are looking at Noah's. For a second or two, that's all you have, because then I'll add this image and then it'll take over the screen. Live editing. Woo! But I love showing these charts because we have the actual birth time, so why not? Like, I got Noah's, Carson Steele's, Rasheed Rice's. Kelsey's chart was found by the elusive Victor, the one that collects all the celebrity birth times, or at least, like, I guess he writes in and gets the birth certificates. So I don't know if he's talking to them directly, but it's usually birth certificate. Travis Kelsey in that sixth house, very physically present with his Mercury as well as his ascendant right there. The South Node now in his 12th house, as well as Mercury in his first house natally. I think that can be a little bit of straddling that cusp line that's a little bit difficult right now. I could be finally stepping on eggshells around that area. So I think personally he might be a little bit burnout, but physically he's ready to show out. So Pluto conjunct the sun, very much a boosting moment for Pluto. We got the sun, this core vital energy, and then the cold darkness of Hades in the underworld that Pluto provides. And those two meeting in the middle, it's like, okay, what form is going to take? Scorpio Mars conjunct to Scorpio Venus. This is very much what he experiences with Taylor. She's got that Scorpio Mars on her rising, which I do think she is probably a Scorpio rising. I'm just lame and like to think that 5:17 a.m. is her time because that's the one I went viral with. It's cool. I know there's so many more other theories, but having her be that like Martian, you got this, like you can do tough things, like that's the energy that Mars brings to Venus, especially in Scorpio. So when you have those two meeting up, it's like, okay, you can do tough things, and he might be just like showing out a little bit more. Having his moon in that eighth house too does kind of indicate that the odds are in his favor today, as well as that ninth house where the travel team is represented, and that Uranus, Saturn, Vesta, and Neptune all in the ninth house. So shows up well, shows up loudly, and should be a fun game for Mr. Kelsey as well. His North Node in the 11th house means it's a pivotal part for the team as well. And then his vertex at the beginning of that 12th house, as well as his Pallas Athena being part of the conversation with the moon today, should be interesting to see how that plays out. So with all that being said, you guys know what time it is. I'm getting out of here. I've had a great show with you all today. My shows have been averaging around an hour and a half instead of that 2.5 hour mark that it used to go to, which, let me tell you one thing, my family is super happy. They get to have more of me. I'm very grateful to be able to leave this live stream and go spend time with them. And, the crows already visited me today. I am number one crow fan of the bird, not the movie. No, I'm not into horror movies. No, thank you. I think sometimes the crows can be scary, maybe for my neighbors, but my neighbors all decided yesterday to mow their lawns, and it was like 40 degrees out tops yesterday morning, and every asshole was just out with a leaf blower and lawnmower. There we go. A leaf mower and a lawn blower. I think that's what I was trying to say. But I was like, oh my God, shut up. And then this morning, frozen, just like the goddess said it would be. And if you guys don't know the Celtic origins of everything, I just got a book yesterday of Celtic symbolism, and I'm super excited just because it's such a beautiful culture. And I'm Welsh, I'm Scottish, and I'm Irish. I'm also Germanic and British, Norwegian, and I think that's where it ends. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where it ends. But with all of that, I'm grateful that I've been able to connect with the earth. Part of the Celtic lore and the mythology. I know the Irish mythology and trees account tweeted out today that the first day of the new year, of the Celtic New Year, is today, and it's when the ground is frozen. And I walked out, and for the first time since early this year, the ground was frozen, and I'm like, she did it again. All right, it's here. So I'm here for the Celtic New Year. I'm here for the celebrations of all sorts. If you're into Samhain, if you're into Halloween, whatever it is that you're into, I think connecting with your roots is probably one of the greatest things you could do. Like, outside of connecting with your astrology chart. Connecting with your astrology chart through the roots of your ancestors' astrology. I have been very privileged recently to work with almost an entire family's astrology lineage and seeing how the siblings connect to each other and seeing how the there we go, the family connects to each other, the parents connect to each other. I've been able to track my own family's astrology and have all four of my grandparents, their natal charts and their children's charts and their grandchildren's charts. And I really and truly think that connecting with your roots through any way possible, whether it be honoring the ground that you walk on because it's the land that has been passed down through generations. Like, honestly, I just want to say to those who have generational land and ancestral homes to go back to, you have no idea how lucky you are. Even if that ancestral home is like the one that you did everything in. I'm in my childhood home from the ages of 13 on. So I get to like live in my teenage years all the time, and slowly transforming this home into my home versus my father's home has been such a journey. And I've been honored to be a part of it and be present with this process. And people who tell you that you can only heal in faraway places are dead ass wrong. You can heal in the same places that hurt you, or you can heal in the same places where you've been wounded. And you don't need to go on some faraway journey. You don't need to go on some $5,000 retreat. Healing has been the new hustle these last few years. And we've seen so many people try to get rich through quote unquote healing others. And nobody heals anyone else. The healing comes from within. We do this from within. We take our pain and transmute it, and that is the true alchemy. And people who want to rip on singers and songwriters that take their personal life and transmute it into song and into something that others can join in on, it's like that is the ultimate form of alchemy. You take the pain that is living inside of you and transform it into a living, breathing entity in the form of a creation. Like, grow up. That is the coolest fucking thing anyone could ever do. So I've heard that singing is melodic screaming. And that is the essentially, because I read a lot about different healing practices, right? And one of them is reclaiming your voice. And as someone with a speech impediment that has been living with it for 37 years now and has been conquering it for the last 30 years now, I truly believe that our voices and the things that come out of our mouth is what heal us. And there's an old saying, and I can't remember if it was in the Bible, if it was Bible adjacent, if it was one of the Gospels that they cut out of the Bible, because they like to edit things. That which goes in your mouth cannot defile you. That which comes out of your mouth is what defiles you. There's Hindu teachings of Vakshati that is all about the purity of word. When you put nothing but pure words out into the atmosphere, what you get back in return is purity of action and rewards from your purity of action. So yeah, lying is just not where it's at. And for a Gemini moon and a Pisces Mercury to tell you that lying isn't cool, that's definitely something, because like a lot of my personality was like growing up on the internet. Catfishing was definitely a thing back in the day. I don't need to catfish anyone now. My face is literally everywhere, and it'd be really hard to do that at the moment. But back in the day when chat rooms were a thing, anonymous chatting with total strangers were a thing, making up stories growing up or embellishing stories, that was definitely a loud one too. I've learned the power of the spoken word over the last 5-6 years and how much it can truly impact your existence and the path that you're currently on. So if you're running around screaming out lies, lying, like the other thing that's really weird to me is this new like lying about things and just being like, what? I was manifesting. And it's like, you don't need to go out there and be like, look what I just accomplished. And then everyone's congratulating you. And then you're like, just kidding. I was manifesting, but thanks for all the like accolades. Thanks for all the encouragements. Thanks for like, no, what are you? Stop it. Get some help. There's ways to do things ethically. There's way to do things where you're not lying to yourself. There's way to do things where you can bring in the power of your words and speak them into existence. And that's like what you get to do the more that you just focus on the words coming out of your mouth being of pure form. So I might have told you guys to stop using LOL this week. This or last week, this week you get to hear me say stop lying, whether it's to yourself or to others. Lying to ourselves causes more problems in the body than anything else. Like lying to ourselves, keeping ourselves in a state of stress. That's how women develop autoimmune conditions. They just internalize everything. So if you do have an autoimmune, if you do have something that is happening in your body, learning how to like vocalize the things that are on your mind, speaking truth to your story, sharing your story can be something that helps. I have been a huge proponent of people sharing what they have going on in ways that can reach others, you know, whether you're struggling with depression, whether you're struggling with an autoimmune disease, whether you're struggling with something going on in your life, you can turn that around to say, hey, today I'm thriving with my mental health. Today I'm thriving with my emotional health. And today I'm thriving with my physical health. And here's why. I woke up today. Step 1, you wake up. Step 2, you're still breathing. Step 3, you can get out of bed. While my knee has been all screwed up with that lovely Saturn square, I don't want to say rehabbing, I've been building my muscle up. Rehabbing indicates that there is something diagnosed wrong. I just simply do too much sometimes, and I have 4 flights of stairs in my house, so I will be running up and down stairs all day long, and my knee's just wrecked, and I'm like, shit. I really love split level housing where a flight of stairs for every room is really fun. One day, my home will be the sprawling 1-floor estate. I love stairs though. I like the elevation of heights, but I like being on the ground floor. So my Stairmaster is definitely not my nickname. I have been learning to build that muscle back up and support my leg again by like resting and learning how to stretch and how to condition properly. And it's like, I knew all this. I played lacrosse on a very high level of competition in my high school years. And I've also been an equestrian my whole life. So knees have been very important on all my activities. And it's like, hey, you know, if you don't have the strength in your knee, you're not going to have the strength to just stand up and get going in the morning. So you ease yourself into it. Some people don't even have the temporariness of a strained knee. It is a permanent fixture that they are unable to get out of bed in the morning the same way as everyone else. So it's like, take your health seriously. Be grateful for it when you have it. You don't know what you have until it's gone. And that's kind of what I've been understanding a lot in the last few months, and being able to be the caretaker for not only my lovely children, but also my father, and be head of household, run my astrology practice, run my weekly live shows. It's been a blessing, and I'm so grateful to be able to do this to you all, for you all, with you all, and not to you. I'm not forcing you all, like, you will watch this sports astrology show no matter what. It is all about what we're learning together. And I love when people chime in. I love when people share their takes, share their insights. I fucked up and made the charts all wrong this week. So you guys get to see them in real time with the show. And that's fun. That's the fun of it all, right? It's Mercury retrograde shadow period. So have a blast with it. Hopefully you're a little bit more safer than I am. Get your cars serviced, get your tires rotated, and make sure that you are operating from your truth, and all will be golden. If people pop back into your life, I will go ahead and say it now. There's not a goddamn soul on this earth that I need to hear from my past dating life. So no thank you to that. No thank you to old friends that disrespected me, that want to come back in my life. I'm good. I'm really good. and the people that are in my life. I'm grateful for the new friends I get to make from a clean slate. I'm grateful for, and I just don't want any of that past energy. I've moved on from it. I have nothing to say to the people that I don't fuck with except Godspeed. That's it. And if people want to be disrespectful and encroach on your boundaries during Mercury retrograde, hit them with the block button. It's the best one that the internet invented. So with that, I'll see you guys next week. I don't even know what time we play, but I promise I will get the time right, because what a mistake to make going into this. And I'm so weirded out that no one told me. No, I'm not. I'm the timekeeper of these charts. It's on me. You guys do not have to keep me accountable. So I appreciate you all being here. And with that, I will talk to you all next week, you guys. Have a great Sunday.